is this all for you guys?
No, this is all for us.
Well, this is actually all for me.
Oh, okay.
And I may or may not share.
Oh my God. Okay. Well then, may I just sit here and watch you specifically eat it all?
Believe me that you wanna watch me eat. I make everything taste very good.
She does. She really does. Like every time she eats, I'm like, I want to eat what she's eating. I don't know what it is.
You know what's funny? When we all get to last time, it happened last time. This was the first time I did it because it's never happened, but I've always wanted to do this. So when our family gets together to eat, everyone's always kind of like, what are you going to order? What are you going to order?
You're that one? Do you feel the pressure?
Yes. So that's the point where I just don't want to share. Because then everyone always copies what I order, and it gets me upset. Because I'm like, no, because I want to try other things. This is mine, and I'm willing to share.
Okay.
But we shouldn't all order what I order.
We should all different things.
Yeah.
Have you ever switched it up though and asked what's Paulina gonna order?
No. So here's a new one. So the other day, everyone was like this. And I whispered my order into the server's ear.
Did you really?
And everyone was like, "What did you order?" And then she was like, "Fine, I'll do a secret order too." I'm like, "Fine."
There you go.
And you ended up being very sarcastic.
I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm gonna win. Like,
I'm gonna win.
It doesn't matter. So then she went.
Everything's a competition.
I like it. Keeps it interesting.
And then everyone was like, "So when is the food coming?" It became like a thing, and then all the food dropped.
Except your plate.
Except my plate. And then everybody was like, okay, what's happening? What's happening? And then I delivered my
of course. And you are delivering. I mean, look at all this, both of you.
Yeah. Well, this is like a very traditional Oaxacan breakfast.
I mean,
this is very light breakfast in Oaxaca.
Yeah,
okay. I want to officially introduce you all because I know we've already sort of started here. I cried a little too, which was really, really fun.
We all cried.
We all cried.
Good cry, right? This is a good cry. Yeah. This is actually a very special day for many reasons. So I'm gonna cry again, maybe. Why not? Who knows?
Why not? Let's all cry.
We made it a mission this year to...
Our more secret ingredient is tears.
Is tears. It's really like the fumes and everything. No, Anna and I have consistently just been putting ourselves out there and meeting amazing people, and to end this season with Bricia and Paulina from Super Mamás podcast is like, this is just... thank you so much. My nephew was born yesterday, so this episode is dedicated to him.
Congratulations.
So Lucas, this is dedicated to you.
Brother or sister?
My sister's third. Yeah. She wasn't expecting, but we are all happy.
That's so amazing.
But yeah,
what
a blessing. A true
Trust
blessing.
me, I love, I have my little niece right here, like, she's my other
just
child. I love her so much. You love them so much.
The Tia love is real. It really is. We're going to get started with Oaxacan breakfast, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, shall we jump in?
Here's the thing about Oaxacan food. There's no rules on what can be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So, if you ask a random person that's non-Oaxacan, like, caldo de pollo, when would you eat that? You'd be like, well, dinner.
Yes.
No, we have for breakfast.
We have caldo de pollo for breakfast. There's no rules. There's no breakfast, lunch. So, memelitas, you can have them for breakfast, you can have them for dinner. Mole, same, breakfast or dinner. Clayuda. I mean, I feel like people who have clayuda for breakfast, like, sure, it's a stretch, but like if you put an egg on top, they'd be like, oh, cool, breakfast.
Right.
Yeah. We have one that has mole and eggs, so it's like
that's my dad's favorite.
That's delicious.
So yeah,
I don't even know where to start here. I don't know if you.
Well, we start with the chocolate and
okay,
pan.
we'll start with the chocolate.
I had chocolate de agua for Brisa because that's her favorite, and I like the chocolate con leche, and then our traditional pan de yema.
Yeah, I think I'm the only person in the family. Here's what happens with chocolate de agua. It leaves a lot of the oil trace from the chocolate in your lips. And I don't think that the one from the milk does. The milk's just like smooth and milky, like and the fat kind of gets combined with the fat from the milk. But with this one,
I'm eating.
You kind of get like the little chocolate just like stuck.
I don't know if people notice, but you're a chef, right?
I cook.
You are.
But no. I have issues with that.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. What? You're not. What is it?
I have issues with being called a chef because I've never worked in other kitchens. I've never went to school for chefing. And also because he comes the special guest.
I love special guests.
Por abajo.
I love it. Oh.
Oh no,
She's like, I want in on this fun.
Okay.
Oh.
School was that was winning. And once and I have so many chef friends and incredible chefs.
Yeah.
you know, like once you cook alongside someone who has been a chef all their life and has gone to school for it and has worked in different kitchens throughout the country or different types of cuisine, then you're like, oh. But then I guess there's also different types of attorneys too, right? Doctors, everything. There's like levels to everything.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is
because I only cook Oaxacan food. Like, I mean, I cook other things
specialty,
too.
if you will.
Actually, no, I cook a lot of things. But yeah, anyway, it's just my chip in my head.
Well, it's interesting because
self-made chef,
which is pretty cool. Like when I
do learn a lot from people.
I've told people about this, they're like, "Oh, you're," and that's what the thing is. When I came across the both of you, I had no idea about like the restaurant or the chef. Like it was just your podcast, like Super Mamás podcast. Like it was. I want to dive into that because for me, it resonated with me. They've been doing this for years, by the way. Like 2015, right? The podcast.
2015.
So over 300 episodes of like, I mean, you all talk about so many things, and I think that that's so great about. You know, Latinas are different identities in different ways. You know, people think like mamás, and it's like, no, you guys talk about all kinds of things. You know,
Yes.
They talk about, you're talking about IVF, fertility, but you also talk about like the LGBT one that you did. I just feel like there's just so much room to. There's just like the multi-dimensions that we have. It really can. It really resonated with me, and I just want to know like how does this start? Like this mission to be like, let's do this podcast like between two of you.
It was like very, I'm gonna say like selfish motives, you know.
Okay.
We felt very lonely. I felt very lonely. I became a mom, and I as many of the people that have followed from us know that the reason why we started this was because I went into a very deep postpartum depression, and I felt very lonely, and I felt very isolated, and I also felt very inadequate. Like I was very like constantly questioning myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good mom. I'm not a good woman. Like I'm supposed to be born to do this, you know? Because that's what you think. Like you're supposed to be born to be a mom, and then once you become a mom, you're like, wait, like what? Like what about the rest of me?
We should turn off the music.
Yes.
I'm sure that's picking it up a little bit or lowering it.
Yeah.
Sorry to
Do you guys get it?
You're fine.
Sorry to interrupt your very deep conversation, but
I think you raise a really interesting point about motherhood. So, because like how well prepared can you be, right? Or like, what is the experience you had, Paulina, where you're like, what did you think of motherhood even before you were a mom? Like, what did you think it would be?
I thought motherhood was like in the telenovelas. Honestly, like, you know, I thought it was like in the telenovelas. You're pregnant, and then you go somewhere, and then you come back home with the baby, and everybody's happy, and the baby's wearing white, and you're twirling around, and everyone's like amazing. You know, you're like, oh, my life is done. Now we are married, now we have a kid, and it's all perfect. But it wasn't for me. It was the total opposite. Like I felt like I didn't know who this little person was. My birth was very traumatizing. We didn't have bonding, my daughter and I, for 6 days. So when I came home with her, it was very difficult because I was like, you did this to me. Like you made my body feel like this, and I felt, and I can talk about it now, 12 years later, because I've had this conversation with her, and I said, I blame you for a long time of the way that I felt. And it was like, I loved her so much, but at the same time, it was like, you did this to me. And it was very unexpected. You know, we also have very busy lives, you know, as you know. Yeah. And so when she was born, I was forced to stop, and I didn't know that I had to stop. I just thought my life was going to keep going, and I felt like everyone else was moving and I wasn't, and I was stuck, and I was like, I had a lot of my value placed in my work. So if I wasn't working, then what was I doing? And like, even though I was raising a baby, I was like, where's my value? I'm not putting anything good into the world, which is really effed up if you think about it, you know, like really, really. So that really, you know.
Was it easy for you to like, there's those moments, because I really like to like think about those small moments of those experiences of like, where was it easy for you to admit to yourself that like, that you felt that way about your daughter? No. Like how much of that is like, are you
I recently
really
like accepted that fact, you know? So no, it wasn't easy. It's taken me, you know, now she's 12, And now I can finally talk about it like without crying or without feeling guilty or without feeling any sort of way, because I really went through all those phases. So, but it was over years, over time.
Yeah.
And then Bricia became a mom. And
Like
then
3 years later?
3 years later, I became a mom.
4 years later.
I became a mom a second time. And then, you know, I was the first one in my family, my friends, everyone to be a mom. So I was very lonely. No one really understood what I was going through until Bricia had a baby, and she got it, and she was like, "Damn, this is hard." So then we started talking about like how hard it was and how much like once you become a mom, people like get you stuck in this one position of like you're the mom and that's it. And no one was saying things like everybody prepares you for like the pregnancy and blah blah blah, but no one really tells you what happens after. Like now I tell people that are pregnant, I'm like, pregnancy, like, you know, getting to the birth is the easy part. Like you should be more concerned about what happens to you, to your body, to your marriage, to your life, like after. And there's no education in that. No one talks about it. Well, now I think it's a little bit more, but that's why, yeah, so that's why we decided to let it out. And it was just an outlet for us to just share how we felt. And then we started realizing that a lot of people identified, resonated, and we're grateful that we were sharing all the things that were really happening. Like my breasts are bleeding, you know, I don't like my husband right now. Like there's many layers to when you become a mom. And then also like, how do I work and continue to grow as a professional without feeling guilty about it, because you're a mom and like you're supposed to do all these things and you're supposed to blah 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 blah, you know. So we didn't fit that, and we're like, is there something wrong with us? Like is it that we want to continue to work, continue to do all these things? Like how do we balance everything, but you can't ever balance everything? So, you know, we just started, it's our outlet. Like every week we just, you know, that's our outlet, kind of like a therapy session with the world.
I love
we've had for the past 8 years.
Wow.
And then it evolved, right? Like as our kids got older, we started diving into our own personal journeys and what, you know, growing professionally, growing personally. And then so now it's become about that. You know, we can't really share anymore of like, oh, the babies are not sleeping, because we're not in that stage anymore. So now we are more on, you know, multifaceted, like professional growth, and you know, I'm dealing with teenagers now, so that's a whole other ballgame.
That's a whole
and so it's really, the podcast has changed over the years with how we've changed over the years as women. You know.
You know, as somebody who has sisters, and I also love the way the two of you just, that hermandad, you know? Like you're just like really, because the truth is that sometimes like life is so busy that you don't even have time to like always say like see your sisters or hang out with your sisters.
Yeah.
And like when the both of you are talking and just talking about life and all this stuff, it's like I feel it reminds me of my own like sisterhood. I don't know if that's like intentional or what you think about like what the fact that you two are sisters doing this, like what the ripple effect it will have on like other women and their sisters and their friends, and that, you know, that friendship that's just, it's so unique.
I always tell people, you know, my siblings are my best friends, and you know, I think most of the time I get the reaction of being shocked. So I don't think that I just thought everyone would go.
Me too.
I live on La La Land. I live in a world of fairies and unicorns, and I believe in mermaids and dragons. Like, and I'm fine, and fairy dust. Like, I'm fine. Like, I don't care if people. You know, that's just the world I live in my mind.
Yeah.
Where just like, I don't know. Like, ask a fairy, she'll know. I don't know. Close your eyes and just ask the world, and the answer will come.
I love that. Yeah.
I'm like that kind of person. So recently I was in dinner with a group of people, and I was sharing with them that probably one of my, I haven't lived my full life, so I don't know. Who knows what will happen with my life? But I always tell people right now, what I wish the most is, I wish I would have had a kid in between my two, and I wish I would have been a girl, and I wish she'd have a sister. That's like my biggest wish in life. That she has 3 wonderful cousins and she loves them. And, because I know how beautiful having sisters is. Then someone in the group was like, fuck my sister. And I was like, oh, okay. like, I wouldn't count on that. And I was like, yeah, but my sisters are awesome. She's like, yeah. And the other person was like, yeah, me and my sisters don't get along. And I'm like, yeah, well, me and mine do. So, and mine will too. Okay, so like, don't bring this into my unicorn and mermaid world. So I think it's just I don't know. It's not if it's intentional or not. We just are. I mean, in the podcast, it's so funny. I'm obviously, you can tell I have a very different personality than her.
Chocolate de leche, chocolate de agua.
Yeah, very different, very different.
Very different.
And sometimes she's really mean to me, and sometimes I'm mean to her. But most of the time it's me. No, just kidding. But like I know that no one in this world loves me more than my sisters, my mom, my sisters, my kids. Like that's which is it. Like that's all we have, and we're very close. We're best friends. So I think I don't know. I think people that understand that, like, we're gonna get into fights, but then at the same time, we're gonna love each other. Yeah. And I think that's why I also love the Kardashians so much.
Yeah,
and I don't fight. We don't fight at that level. Like, not yet. Anyway.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, not yet. But we have gone down. Like we definitely
we broke a TV or two.
Yeah, we definitely there's definitely been fighting and pulling and kicking and punching and stuff. Yeah, as younger kids, but like no, not as adults. I would whip her ass.
I don't know. Let's see.
Well, dude, we can move the table.
Actually, no, you would, because I'm like, my piercings, no. My hair is long now, it's fragile.
Yeah, and it's a common question that we get all the time, and I think it's just because I don't think we were forced, but the way that we grew up working together all the time and moving along, like, around work and doing things, we learned to work together. We learned that everyone had their own different roles. My dad was really good at identifying what our roles would be, because I don't even know how he did it. Like, he was like, oh, Brisa's gonna help me with this, and Fernando's gonna help me with this, and Paulina's gonna help me with this. And at the beginning, it was like, why do I have to do this? I don't get it. But now I see it. I'm like, oh, like he was really good at reading what we were good at. And my dad never put us to compete against each other. I know that there's families that like put kids to compete with each other. Like my parents never put us to compete against each other. It was more like, oh, we all have to work. We all have our own different things, and we all have to work for the same. And up until like now, I think it's the same. Like we only
compete when we have board game parties.
Oh, that's
that is
yeah. On the non-professional life, we compete on everything.
How about the best order?
Everything. But like when it comes to like, we are working towards the same goal, and what I do, I always think about my siblings and how is that going to affect them, and how is that going to benefit them, or how is that going to benefit us as a family together. And I think the same way, like I'm always, like whatever we do as individuals is like for the greater good, like for all of us, and not only us, but now our children, our partners, everyone. So it's
like a collective.
It's a collective. It's a collective.
It's definitely a community. Yeah,
I see that. And I see this right here, mother. I mean, we can't not talk about motherhood, and I have more questions about motherhood, and so I have to say, like, for the longest time, like I had no interest in being a mother.
Like today.
Okay. Because I was like, I don't understand these people who are like, I've always, and I'm like, I don't understand that. And now this year, no sé dónde salió.
I didn't even care that I had a niece.
Oh, what?
Yeah, true story.
No, I didn't. There was like no motherly instinct in my body.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
then I was giving a child.
Oh, okay. And then? How was
and then it's changed. And then you convert. It's just, it changes everything about you, and unless you have gone through the process, like you can understand. So every time I have friends or anyone that doesn't have kids, like there's nothing that I can tell you that will make you understand.
Yeah.
There's nothing there's no words or anything that's like, if I had a kid, I'm like, there's no such thing as if I had a kid, I would do this. Like that does, like stop right there. Like stop, like that doesn't exist. like that world that you're about to enter when you finish that sentence it doesn't even exist. It's not even in any metaverse. Like it's not in any place, because once you have a child, see, ¿vas al baño? No.
It's okay.
Okay. Once you enter the universe, then like everything, it changes everything. It changes you, it changes your family, it changes everything. And everything you said you would, you wouldn't, it's just
Gone.
Oh yeah.
So like it doesn't matter.
All the things that you said that you're not gonna
me
do.
a little bit, but also excites me. Yes, is there a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, being a parent, it's very scary, very frightening, but it's very fulfilling and great at the same time. I mean,
I always tell people, here's the thing. The harder, okay, so everything that's hard in this world will have a reward at the end. Everything. So you're training for a marathon. You know how painful that is?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, well, I don't, but I think.
I did have one a long time ago, and it's
so when you want to, I don't know. There's so many things in life that you have to train for, that you have to work for, and it's painful. But at the end, there's a result that makes you feel like so great. So there's no greater, I would say, benefit. Like there's no greater other side than to have that love inside of you for children. But it's the hardest thing you ever do, because it's the greatest love you'll ever receive. So it's like, if it's that great, it's gonna be just as awful. It's the same thing. It's just physics. It's spiritual physics, guys.
I like it, spiritual physics.
You know what I mean? Like there's no yin without the yang. There's no devil without a god. Like there's nothing that's wonderful without horrible. And it can't be all wonderful, and it can't be all horrible. So you just have to understand like that is what it is. So if you're like, but it's okay if you don't. Like it's fine. Like I always tell my friends with kids, I'm like, just you don't have to have them. Like there's nothing that says like you don't have to. Like yes, every parent will tell you it's the greatest thing in the world, and yes, it's very hard. But like no one will ever be able to tell you exactly how hard it is. And then if you don't have kids, you're like, do you love your kids? You keep saying how hard it is. I'm like, oh, believe me, I love my children very, very much, but I don't want to also undermine like the difficulties. But because it has such a great reward, like this is like so beautiful. Every time I think about her, my book.
Is she listening to this?
No, she knows how beautiful she is. She knows she's the best. And my son too. But God, like when I'm in it, like when I'm in it deep, and it's just like right now, there's no school, so I have to do this with her. So it's like both things at the same time, and that's what being a parent is.
Like every day, I'm like, what time is it? What is it? 8:30 already? Can they go to bed? You know, every day I'm like, and then once they're in bed, I'm like, I should have hugged them more today. I should have told them more. I should have gone. I should have. And it's like it's all of those things at the same time. And when you're there, we are with them. You're like, ugh. And then when they're not there, you're like, oh my God, I miss them so much. And like, oh, we're gonna stay with them. And like, why aren't they here? And it's like this. It's so crazy, but it also goes really, really fast. Like when I think about the fact that my daughter is 12, I am like, what? Like, how did I? Like, she's taller than me. She's a full-on woman now, and like it's. On those moments where she holds my hand, she's like, "Mama, I love you." I'm like, "Oh my God, like what?" Like, I cherish those moments because I only have a few years left with her before she becomes her own person and does her own life. And hopefully I was able to make her into a good human. And it's it's.
Oh yes, please do. Here, is it easier for? Maybe we could try another dish while we're in the bathroom, shall we?
Let's eat it. Okay, so we have the moles, all the 4 kinds of moles here.
Okay.
Mole negro, mole rojo, coloradito,
oh my gosh. Okay.
I mean, we already ate some of the memelitas, but here's one for you. This one is cecina.
Okay.
This is a pork leg, enchilada, and the veggie one that
So I'm gonna go with her. Oh yeah, if you can, just real quick.
And then we also have the tlayuda over there, which is one of our best sellers, and the moles, of course.
Of course. We tried a grasshopper for the first time.
So good. Did you want some? Those are so good. So bring them out 'cause
it was new for us. Well, it was I'm gonna do a shout out to them. These two sisters who are also they're from Oaxaca. Two sisters. They have they sell like purses and like earrings and all that good stuff. They're called La Tien. They're here in LA actually. And so we did an interview with them, and they're like, we have grasshoppers, and we had never tried one before, and we're very particular about
Are they little or big?
They're little, but the little
So
ones.
good.
Garlic.
I love them.
But maybe we didn't have the. I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
like,
you know what? Like, I think it's a mental thing. Because you're like, grasshoppers? But if I would have given them to you without you knowing what it was, you'd be like, oh, this is good. And then I would have told you
That's
they're
what I should
grasshoppers.
do.
Then you'd be like, oh, what? I just had that?
next time, maybe that's what you.
I do that a lot. Like, some people tell me, like, I don't drink mezcal. Mezcal's not for me.
love mezcal.
And I'm like, okay, well, let me give you a really good drink. Taste it, and then tell me. And they're like, oh. I said, yeah, because, you know, it's all about the first experience that you have. I always tell my team, we have one shot with the customer. Every person that walks through this door, I have one shot. Because, like you had that, and you're like, you know? And I only have one shot. If that day the food is off, something happens, the service is off, like, that person's not gonna come back. So I always tell them, like, it's only one chance that we have.
I love that.
And I make they know that, and they know that every person that walks through here, we only get one shot.
Yeah.
So that's what I work really hard to, like, make sure that they have good service.
Well, this is a great one shot. This is delicious.
Really good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to one of your recent podcasts about how you're on the board for some healthy food initiatives. Yes. Which I think is, I do want to talk about the relationship with food, because I think that's something I think as Latinas, as women, like, I feel like I grew up in a space that, like, there was no real education, and so my relationship with food was very much about comfort. Like, I am going to start just tragando porque me siento mal, I feel sad, and it was my friend. And through so you know, my relationship with food has been very much a struggle. And
Same here.
Yeah,
Where do you want to go with that? Food is my drug of choice.
Yeah.
Food is my drug of choice. I always tell people, I'm like, if you see that I'm gaining a lot of weight, it's probably because I'm stressed and I'm eating because I'm, you know.
Yeah.
Have you seen my sister? I mean, she's like skinny bones all the time. 24. She hates when I say that, but she's very thin. She's always been thin. That's just her structure all her life, you know. And I'm the opposite. So I always struggle. I always thought, like, I need to look like my sister. I need to. So then I would like hide food. I would do all sorts of things with food. But honestly, I think I got into a point in my life now where I tell people, I'm like, well, this is the one body I have. This is me. Like, I have to love myself and accept myself in order for me to be happy, because I don't want to be all my life thinking, oh, let me see that picture. Do I look good? Oh, I don't. Oh, and like putting my value on that. And I am now like, it is what it is, guys. What am I gonna do? I look like this, you know. This is what I look like. This is who I am. This is what my body. And I struggle so much. I was bulimic in high school. I was probably anorexic at some point. I mean, I struggled with my weight my whole life. I did every diet in the book. I went through every treatment that you can think of. I used to inject my stomach when I was in college. You know, I went through it because I thought that there was something wrong with me. But I think like it was just self-acceptance and self-love, because you can see when someone walks in and they love themselves, and you're like, you are so freaking beautiful. And you don't even like, well, no matter what size, no matter what they look like, you're like, you are so beautiful because they love themselves, and that you could see it. You know, you could totally see it.
You could see it. You could feel it.
And you're like, damn, like what do you have that I need to get? And like, I always wonder. I always saw people like that, and I was like, how do I become that? And it was a lot of years. Again, I have been doing a lot of mental health for the 12 years that my daughter has been on earth, and so that really helped. Motherhood changed my life. I am here in front of this camera today with the podcast, being right here because of I became a mom. Before that, I would label myself as, hi, I'm Paulina, the sister in the background. Literally, I would tell people, I'm the sister in the background, I'm the sister in the back, I'm the sister behind the scenes, and a lot of people didn't even know me. I always tell the story because I remember the first time that I met Patty Rodriguez, who's a really great friend of ours now, like from Little Libros, and she was having dinner with my sister Bricia, and they were friends, and I was in a corner like, oh my God, you know, like, I was like, oh, I hope that she like looks at me, you know. And then when we became friends, I told her the story, and I said, you know, I was really shy, and I didn't want to talk to you, and said, you know what, like, I feel that every day in my life. And I was like, you do? You? Like, what? You know? Yeah. And so everybody feels the same. Like, you think that you date people don't, but everybody feels the same way. So that really got me thinking about how we carry ourselves and what we do. And, you know, I've done a lot of work on myself on the past years, but also, you know, I really decided that I didn't want to live like that anymore. You know, we have one life, we have one body, we have one chance. Like, there's no redos in this life. You know, you're not gonna be like, well, if I die tomorrow, I'll be born. You know, like, you know, you're like, let's do it again. Let's give it a try. Maybe, I don't know. There's many beliefs, but like, I feel like this is it. Like, I'm like, what do you want from life? I'm like, you know what I want? I want peace in my heart. And I want to live. I want to live. I really want to live. I think like a lot of people are like, when we get to this, I'm going to that. But you never get there. Once you get there, you want the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And you never get to that place. You know?
Well, can I just tell you, like, everything you just described, like, I see the healing. Like, I'm telling you, I told her already, but I'm wearing this skirt because of Paulina. Like, put in the middle, and I can just, in case like, seriously, like, I'm wearing, I even told her, I was like, I'm gonna wear this. Like, I just love the way that you just exude who you are, and I see that healing, and your vibe is just
a lot of
work. Dude, but your vibe, it's just,
thank you.
It's just very inspiring. So,
Thank you.
I see that healing, and I just think it's really awesome that you're doing this work, and you're affecting your daughter, but you're also affecting like the people that are like you're in your community. So it's really cool.
Thank you. I
so
appreciate that. I appreciate
Come on now.
I'm not anymore. No, I'm not anymore. But I used to. I used to see myself that way. And then these earrings. I love it. Yeah, I used to see myself like that, but I don't anymore. You know, I want to live a good life. You know, and and now I have the responsibility of my daughters, my nieces, my nephews, everyone to see us living a good life, so they can. In return, create the life that they want to do, you know? Like, I think that's the point of also breaking generational, like, things that, like, the next generation is better and the next
Let's talk about generational things. You want to talk about anything in particular? Any generational thing in your family you feel like you've already kind of...
I think I think that, you know, like, I think, like, we grew up thinking that we needed to do a lot in order to be worth. Like, we needed to, like I was telling you, when I became a mom, I was like, I'm not producing, I'm not doing, like, you know, what am I contributing? And I think
that's real, by the way. Like,
that's real.
That's like I'm not even a mom yet. I'm already like that. I'm already thinking about that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, 100%. And like also because of everything that you see, right? Like now it's social media and all of that. Like everybody's like out there, you know, like I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you're like, am I wrong with this? You know. With that, and I mean, at least for me, also taking care of myself. Taking care of myself. I think we come from our parents, and we're in a very, I call it la generación del sacrificio.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, like a lot of my parents, my aunts, my in-laws are like, pero yo sacrifiqué todo. You know, I'm like, oh my God, you know? I'm like, do I have to sacrifice?
Do you carry that? Well, you talked, in one of the episodes, you talked about privilege. Do you remember this comic you made?
Yeah.
Which I feel like it kind of touches on that, this idea of like, well, aren't you trying to work hard so that your children also have opportunities, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people see the word privilege in a negative connotation, and I understand why. And I think the money disparity gets bigger and bigger every day in this country and the world. So I understand, and sometimes it's very easy to say like, well, you have it, that's because you're privileged, or it's because you're here. And I think we do have a lot of privileges. I have a privilege of living in LA. Like that in itself is a huge privilege. I had the privilege of working with my family and have a good relationship. Like that's a privilege. There's so many things that I understand that they are, but I think that when people kind of put a negative connotation on making a good living for your family, and it's like, well, your kids are just not grow up privileged, and I'm like, well, I mean, I hope they do.
But I thought I had never heard anybody talk about it in that way, because it's true, it's like, what do you want for your children? Like,
I obviously want my kids to understand the value of struggle, because again, like I said earlier, there is no growth without pain. That's the spiritual science. Or what is it? Chemistry? What did I say?
Spiritual physics.
Spiritual physics. It's just physics. It's just, that's it. Like there's nothing that's gonna come without pain. That's good, right? So I understand that part, and I know that kids need kids are going to go through their own journey, and that's probably the hardest thing for a parent, to see their kids suffer, and you just don't want their kids to suffer because you know what that feels like, and that's your most precious thing, and it's just like more and more pain. But once that goes to their side, you see that they build character, they build grit, they're no longer going to, they're just building and building and building and building. That's who we are as humans, and we have to evolve.
How do you, as mothers, though, like, how have you learned in being moms, when to kind of like get in there, or when to be like, you know what, they need to kind of experience this.
I think you know. You don't know. Like, the other day, I take walks with my kids. We're taking a walk, and my son just didn't want to walk, and he sat down and he started crying, and I don't know what to do at that moment. Do I keep walking and have him like figure it out and come to me, or do I sit there with him and have a conversation and like be there for him? There's answer. There's an argument to have for both approaches. Right. One, you're a present parent, and you're there, and your kid knows it's going to be safe, but the other is also, well, your kid needs to learn to get up by himself and walk, because yes, you will be there when he's there, and he will get there, and then you'll have the conversation like, you're in a safe neighborhood. I make sure you're safe. It's okay to be alone, and I want my child to learn to walk in the neighborhood by himself.
On the street.
Like that's a normal thing to be asked of him. So it's what decision you make is whatever decision that you make as a mom, that's the best decision. Like no one's gonna be the best mom other than you. Right. So I think it's just, you don't know until you're in that position. So even me, when my sister tells me about the struggle she has with her teenage children, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing that I can say, oh no, my kids are not going to be like that. Like, you don't know. And you don't know what decisions you're going to make until you're in that there. Your child can, honestly, your child can murder somebody, and you're going to like make sure that you're going to protect them. Like, there's nothing you won't do for your kids. And to see them suffer and to see them go through something, it's the most painful thing you can have as a parent. So I think the only thing that you can hope for is to build trust. So they can share their struggles with you, and you can cry together.
Yeah. Trust, communication.
But that's also difficult to build.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, with a kid, how do you?
It's difficult. I decided one day, I was feeling really sad, and I was like gonna tell them like, I'm okay, But then I decided to just tell them.
I love that.
I'm like, I feel good. I'm sad. I'm feeling like this. Or like I had a conversation with my daughter, and I was like, it's really difficult being a parent, because I want to be your friend, but I can't, because I gotta be your parent, and I gotta be this. And I'm like, and I tell my oldest daughter now, I'm like, I'm learning with you. You're my experiment, and I apologize if things don't go the way that I don't know, like I'm learning, like you are, why do I feel like my last one, why do I only treat her like a baby? I'm like, because like at the time that I got to her, I already went through all these things with you. So honesty, there's nothing wrong with them knowing that you're human.
I was just gonna say, by you doing that, like, you're also teaching her about how to deal with her own feelings.
Yeah.
It's like I love it
because you're like, cállate, no llores, and don't do this. But then when you cry, if somebody tells you that, you're like, why would you tell me to be quiet? So it's like, I was recently talking to my sister about this, or to someone, I remember, to my dad actually. I was telling him, like, I sometimes try to fix myself through my daughter, because I was trying to avoid things for her, but it wasn't about her. I was trying to fix my little child inside through her. And then I realized, I was like, what am I doing? Like, we're not even the same person, Like, we're not the same person. I gotta do the work for me, and then, like,
How'd you realize, by the way, may I ask? Like, how did you realize, like, wait, like what you were doing? Like,
it triggered, it when I was telling her things, it brought me back to my own childhood. Like, how I was being corrected. And how I was hurt by that. And the way, and one time she said, Mom, you gotta stop comparing me to other people. Or like, she said something to me that I was like,
wait,
how dare you, She's like, I really don't like it when you compare me to others. And I was like,
did it?
What? Like, because when I was growing up, I would have never tell my parents something like that. My parents would say, sit down, and I'd be like, where? They'd be like, get up, how fast? So the fact that she doesn't challenge me, but she questions what I say. Those are the kind of things that I was like, oh, you're different, you're not me.
Well, and it's interesting. I kind of appreciate your daughter in a way, right? Isn't that kind of cool that she's like, hey, you know what? Like, let's.
It's so funny because somebody says, like, you're trying to raise these, like, independent children, and then they're too independent. You're like, damn, all right, like, damn, okay, I should have. So sometimes they're too much,
Okay.
But she does. We've had conversations, like we sit down and have conversations, and I try to, because I feel like our generation, when we were kids were treated like second-class citizens. Like, te sientes like, and then you just sit down and you be quiet and ahí te quedas. And we are raising different children, like children that were like, oh, you need to speak up, you need to do this, but tú no te quejes when they speak up.
Because it's kind of like you both are teaching, you're changing the generational, behaviors and learnings, but at the same time, while you're doing that, you also are learning what that looks like. What's the reaction of that, right? Or what's the result of that? And you're kind of like learning as you're going too, right? And that takes work.
It's a lot of work.
Because it's easier to be like, to sit back and you're more comfortable what you grew up with because you're familiar with it, but that's like intentional. So I think that's really cool that you're
it's intentional. And I think, like, in general, as a family, from my parents to everybody, we're trying to change. Always. Even my parents.
How did you get your parents to get on board?
We didn't. Like, they had to decide on their own that they wanted to do it. Like, we didn't. Like, it was just.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was. All you can do is just do you.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
You can just do you. You can't change people.
No, I learned that the hard way. I don't know if I told her on Zoom, but like, her and I, like, it's been a whole journey with my family, being a Mexican family, Catholic, and like coming together has been quite a journey. But luckily, I think what's helped is just being very, very confident in who we are. And by them seeing that, because there's love there with my family, but by seeing our own sort of confidence and being like, no, this is who we are, and we stand by who we are, then they're like, oh, okay, well then I guess I can't, like, what can I say against that? If that's, there's more confidence in there, so that's helped us. So we went to Mexico for the first time as wife, esposa, and I was like introducing her to my extended family, and everybody was fine. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
And I think sometimes you overthink things. I think it's your own judgment. Like, you think people think that a certain way, and then you're surprised. People surprise you.
Honestly, people don't care about it. Like, not you specifically, it's just like everything. Like, people are too caught up in their own life.
That's true.
To really be thinking about you. Like, that's why I always remind myself. Every time I'm like, but am I aware that they're like, wait a minute, they're not thinking about you, Lucia. Relax. You're not that important. They got a whole ass life for themselves with their own set of problems. There's nobody got time to think about you. So, like, that's what I tell myself all the time. So that's why I just live my life. Because at the end of the day, like, They really don't care about me. Like, they really don't.
That's why you do you. You gotta do you.
Yeah,
gotta do you.
We were talking about food. Just want to go back real quick. When you were out there, we were talking about relationship with food, and so we've sounds like you and I have a very similar unique relationship with food, of like as a place for comfort and whatnot. How has food been? What kind of relationship have you had with food?
Food? Well, I think that aside from loving food, I think that I've always been just very curious, and I think that when I'm eating, I think it's the one time, the moment in my life where I really am truly present, is when I'm having food. And it's the moment since I was a child. Like, I remember distinctively eating certain things and how things tasted, and I remember things in my mouth and like how are they making this and like what flavors are there. And it's even to now, even here when I was sitting, like I'm very intentional when I eat. I want to enjoy every single bite, and I want to taste what goes in there, and my mind just goes. This moment when I'm very, very, very present. So for me, I think it's sort of, I don't know, the moment, my relationship is the moment when I'm present with food. I can taste everything.
Food is everything. I think food is also like triggers memories, takes you back. You know, food can transport you anywhere. You know, like I have some friends who are like, oh my god, I remember when you know, and we as a family. You know, for us, it's all about food. Whenever we travel, whenever we do things, it's like, where are we going to eat?
Do you like look at the menu and everything?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I whenever I go on trips, I watch like the top places to eat in the city, or where the locals eat. I always eat with the locals eat. But we're planning a trip like as a family, all of us, and like. The most important thing for us is like, what are we gonna eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Like, nobody's worried about what are we gonna do and what activities we're gonna do. No, we're like, what are we gonna eat?
That's
who's gonna cook what? You know, that's like and we love eating like this, like family style, everything in the middle, everybody sharing, everybody talking, everybody doing. That's just the way that we eat in Oaxaca, and like it's just memories. You know?
Do you go often, I imagine, right? Or
not as often as we would like to go, but yeah, we go through. You know, we travel through the year. We go through the year, for work, and we call it work. It's work. It's work, but it's also fun. You know?
With your kids, how do you approach like sharing what food is for them? Like, do you have like a certain sort of approach because this relates more back to like, you know, I have that really not the healthiest relationship with food, and so as I venture into exploring being a mom, I think about like, okay, what can I do now to when I become a mom? What can I teach my children about food, and what kind of relationship do I want them to have?
You know, I think one of the things that I loved about my childhood, and one of the things that has shaped me, and the way that I have a relationship with food is my mom was also very present with food, and she is a great cook, and she really went out of her way to make those incredible meals, and I still remember them. There's certain meals my mom certain that I remember eating them. Not every day of my life, but I remember specifically as a 3-4 age of my daughter. So I just want to be able to be that for my kids.
I love that. Yeah, that's cool. What about you, Paulina?
Same. I think, you know, my kids eat the way that I eat, like the way that I eat. My husband and I, my husband's from Mexico City, I'm, you know, from Oaxaca. So at home we eat a lot of like very traditional Mexican.
Wow.
So they, you know, they eat, but also they live in LA, and we also live in Koreatown. So my kids love all kinds of food. They are curious about food now. They're older. I got better. Like when I was little, I was learning, and I would like cut chicken and rice for them. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I would say like I was like the food I would watered it down for them. I watered down food for them for a long time. And then one day I was like, you know, when she had her kids and I saw like my nephew at 3 or 4 like grabbing sushi and eating all these things, and I was like, man, I've been doing it all wrong, you know. and you know, I remember like my sister would just feed him whatever she was eating, and he was eating very complex food at really young. And I was like, damn, I you know, I missed that window with my oldest. So then slowly I started introducing things, and now my youngest is way better at eating, you know, different variety of food, and my oldest is now, you know, very open to trying all sorts of things. But when I started, again, because I was like not in the mental state and I was not like intentional about it, I would water down food, but now I don't. And I'm surprised because I think some parents are like, oh, my kid is not going to be interested in that. I'm like, just offer it.
Yeah, just.
And I always tell them, like, just try it. If you don't like it, at least you already tried it. And they do, and they're like, oh, I like it, or no, not right now, you know. But at least they just go for it. And so now when they go eat, you know, like now she loves like veal, and she loves, you know, sushi and like all these things. I'm like, oh, who are you? You know? But it took a long time. It took a long time. It took a long time. Yeah, I used to not. They used to eat kid food.
Okay.
And you know, now they eat all sorts of food.
Upgrade. You mentioned work just a few minutes ago, so I do want to talk quickly about being entrepreneurs. So we just are wrapping up our first year as entrepreneurs as well, and it's been a ride, right, Anna? It is a ride, and since it's fresh in my memory, what we've experienced this year, it's. I think what you were saying earlier, Vinicia, about like anything that's like worth it is going to be hard, but then there's like a benefit at the end. But you know, being an entrepreneur, there's there's beauty in it, and there's some beasts in having your own business. It's a lot of hard work. So I don't know if, you know, a lot of people that like listen to those and they are either, you know, so a lot of them are Latina entrepreneurs, and so I don't know if you have any hard lessons you want to share, or anything like the beauty of it too, of being an entrepreneur. Anything come to mind?
Listen, the thing I always tell people that go on their own or start their own business or their own journey is that if you're gonna go in it, you go in it. No, you should go in it knowing it's gonna be at least a 10-year journey. So you're 10% of the way there.
All right.
And when you say it's a ride that you can get off of. It will always be up and down. And it's a journey that will teach you many things about yourself. Will challenge you, and there's no right or wrong answer, especially today. I think that when people ask me, what's your advice, like, I just can't give you advice, because the advice I give you today may not even work tomorrow because of how fast things are changing. If somebody would have told me 10 years ago, you know, that the way to go, or, you know, how people were going to make millions of dollars in the next 10 years, I would have not believed them, because I don't understand. Right. People have created such realities for their life that have really broken any stigmas or stereotypes and broken any ideals that we've had growing up in the different world. So the world changes so fast and so often that there's no advice I can give you or no things that I can share with you other than know it's going to be like a 10-year ride, because that's the one thing that I've seen in common with everyone. But you can really create your own reality in any way, shape, or form. It's just knowing that it's going to take a while and have patience. And I think that's just what it is. As far as, you know, running your own business and having the privilege of owning your time, it's going to cost you. It's the best thing. Yeah, like it's a best trade-off. It's the best thing you can have. But at the same time, it's going to cost you many things, and that is the price of having that reward at the end of being able to own your time. Being able to have your child run around while you're going to interview, like, it's just my reality, it's my life, and I've been able to create this for myself. But that's also the other side of the coin also has its truths, you know.
Yeah, you said something about learning. You learn a lot about yourself. It's true. It's like you. And I think that's a good way to frame it too. You know, when you're like struggling with certain things, and you're like, okay, how can I solve this, or what can I do to work through this, and what does that say about me? So I like that a lot. Yeah. How are you following that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, having a business is hard. It's really hard. There's a lot of challenges, like all the time. There's new challenges, and then once you overcome one, then there's probably going to be another one that's coming, because that's part of growth.
Yeah.
I think like when you grow, when you move, there's always going to be constant change, constant challenges, constant things. And I think at the beginning, I used to concentrate so much on the problem. Like I would just put all my 100% focus on the problem, and I would forget the rest. And so I was like, oh my God, everything's bad, everything's bad, everything's bad, everything's bad. So then you are always like, everything's bad, And then I learned that I'm gonna have another one tomorrow. I'm gonna have another one the next day. So might as well just get used to it. Might as well just focus on the good parts of the business. Focus on that, because if you think about it, the good things sometimes are bigger than the bad things, but we put our energy so much on the bad that everything looks bad. And I remember like I went to church one day and somebody said, if you put a cap in your eye, that's all you're gonna see. But if you put it away, like you see everything. It's still there, but it's not like blocking your mind.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so that I really, now I learned over the years that we took over the business 10 years ago this year. And I've learned that there's always gonna be something new. Like every time, and it's just like I was telling you earlier about life. If you're waiting for the problem to get solved, like we just don't move. We wouldn't be where we are here. Like, do we have problems? Yes, absolutely. Do we have problems every day? Oh my God, yes, every day. Que el refrigerador, que aquí, que this broke, that nobody didn't show up, blah, blah, blah. Like there's challenges all the time. So you need to understand that there's gonna be challenges and there's gonna be problems, but I think that moment where I understood that, because I was very fatalist all the time. Like I was like, oh my God, it's gonna end everything, and we're gonna lose everything, and we're gonna die. We're gonna close the restaurant tomorrow.
And what helped you move? What helped you change that?
My faith. I'm really big on my faith. The only reason that you see me here standing is because God's grace has me here, because He's been really good to me, to us, to my family. And if it wasn't because of that, because I trust that every time we're gonna overcome and we're gonna be okay, and time will heal everything, and time will pass, and then we will have a new challenge, and we will learn, and we will grow from it. And so that is the only way to see the business as well.
And then did you have I feel like there's peace in that, which is what you were looking for.
Okay. I'm okay with that now, because I know that there's. I feel like sometimes there's nothing happening. Like, are you sure?
You're like, wait,
what is happening? But I learned that because I used to always text my siblings all the time, like, oh my God, this is happening, And then what good did that do? What good did that do? It was just we were just worrying everyone, What good did that do? I just had to figure out how to solve it, and solve it and move on, and then there's a new challenge, solve it and move on, and then I think also oh, but that shouldn't happen again. What did I do? What can I do so that doesn't happen again? And that's the same thing that I tell my team. I tell my team that all the time, because I think people tend to focus a lot on the problems all the time. And I with my team here at work, I'm like, well, we can either focus on that one problem or that one person, or keep going what we're doing and handle that. And I think they're like, oh yeah. So
I love it.
There will be problems. But then we overcome.
Well, there's also some beauty in being entrepreneurs. So I feel like a cool way to end the interview today is maybe the two of you want to share a little bit about some of the beautiful moments in this experience. Doing this with your sister.
Oh my God, yes.
You're being a mom.
I mean,
what are some beautiful moments?
Being here, sitting down right now in the morning, what day is it today? Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, yeah.
Just being here. This is beautiful. Having the possibility of just saying guys, I don't feel good today. I'm gonna go home and I put on the work so that I can do that. The beauty is seeing people, like every time someone approaches me and they're like, I had the most beautiful experience at your restaurant, I love the food, I love, everything that you guys do, like, or someone come in and telling us, I used to come here when I was a child and now I'm here with my kids.
Oh man.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to see, because when you're inside, you don't really see it. It's just like every day. But when someone gives you a perspective of your work through the years, I think that's beautiful. Like seeing people, or like when I meet someone and they're like, oh my God, you're from Guelaguetza. Oh my God, I love that place. Like, and I'm like, really? Like people that I'm like, what? You've been there before? I didn't even know. So that to me is beautiful. Beautiful to see that people know a little bit of Oaxaca, know a little bit of our culture, our food, and that we had a small part to doing that. I think it's beautiful.
And all the work you're doing at Super Mamás.
Oh yes, the Super Mamás too.
Do not forget all that stuff.
Of course, yeah, and it sometimes we forget. Sometimes because we're the mic, and sometimes when people approach me and they're like, "I heard your episode and this." So what happened to it? Oh, somebody asked me the other day. So what happened? Who won in Turkey? And I was like, what? And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And so sometimes we forget.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people like, come say hi, come because we love you all so much, and to me, I think like I'm so grateful for Super Mamás because I became who I am today because of that, because of everything that I've done and learned over that, and our relationship also as sisters.
Well, thank you for making it a reality though, and for sticking to it for as long as you have, because now you're hitting like new generations of people. I'm telling you, like me wanting to be a new mom also inspired me to start listening, and it's like, so you're gonna start like getting some new blood, which is really cool. How about for you, Mauricia? What are some beauties in this journey for you?
Honestly,
She's like, hi. She's like, boba.
I was like, my mom's teacher.
She's done, right?
Yeah.
She's like,
I'm sorry, did you speak to your agent before this about that?
You know what? We didn't, so we can we can end it. You wanna get boba?
I think for me, the most beautiful thing about my entire journey, when I look back, it's just, I just call it, you can call it human equity, relationships, community, bonds. I think the life that we've created has brought us incredible relationships, and for me, I think one of the most valuable things I hold dear to my heart are relationships with other people, with other human beings. My family, my friends, my children. It's just, I always tell people, the time and relationships are essential to anyone's journey. Building community is so important. Being able to have people that show up for you is really important. And again, it takes time, and it takes time from you. You have to invest time in other people. But I think the relationships that we've built throughout the years are priceless, and continue to build. And that's one of the things I always pray, and it's like, God, like, continue to bring great people into my life and remove those that don't belong. And that is, like, I think the most powerful prayer anyone can ask, because all we have is ourselves, but then we can count. But when you can count on other people, it's really a game changer. And the reason we can be here talking to you is because we have an army of people behind us that do incredible work for our family's mission, and to be able to lead people, it's like a real privilege. And honestly, I feel so thankful every day, grateful for everybody.
Well, that's beautiful. That's all beautiful. I'm gonna keep probably eating, but because we didn't get to try all of it. But speaking of food, so just thank you again for sharing this amazing meal, which Anna, I'll invite you to in just a moment. I feel bad. But I always like to end with a very silly but serious question in my heart. Is so my blog is called Donas y Tortas. I love donuts. I love tortas.
Tortas. Is that apple juice one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Tortas.
You already said tortas.
That's
Which one?
Chorizo con quesillo.
Oh, yeah. What about you?
Una semita de cecina con quesillo, pápalo, la salsa de chipotle con Coca-Cola.
Oh my god. Can we get that
with
here?
Like a real semita. No. You have to go to Puebla for those. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Una torta de chorizo con quesillo, frijol, mayonesa.
That's it.
Right?
Done. Done.
No,
Oh,
I'm
that's
choosing
awesome.
one. I'm choosing
That one.
one. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, thank you, all of you, and especially you too, actually, because let me tell you, what I saw while this was all happening was I saw the way, I'm gonna get all emotional, I'm not, but I saw like love right here, and that's like,
I just honestly, she is a magical creature that
Yeah,
came
this
into my
love.
life. Like she is, she is made of pure Oaxacan fairy dust.
yes, you are, yes, you are.
She
Yeah,
is
I
the
think
most
so.
magical creature, and all she does is spread Oaxacan dust everywhere she goes.
Should we ask her? Would she have a torta or a donut?
¿Quieres una torta o una
Una
dona?
dona. A boba. Boba, right? Well, thank you again, and
Thank you so much.
bye, guys. Bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, we like to do this. That's a wrap on Paulina and Patricia. And you too.
Agustina, no, Agustina no quiere.